Call Potu Williams.
Mr. Speaker. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, I like previous speakers on this bill, want to commend the work of the home care support worker and the work that they do. And I want to spend a little bit of time, I think, talking about the work that they do and the value that they bring to our communities. We all know, many of us have had our lives touched by the work of home care workers, whether they're coming in to support elderly parents, whether they're supporting people with disabilities, whether they're supporting people at the end of their life, whether they're supporting people who are injured and are temporarily off work, or whether they're injured and actually have long-term care. Being able to stay in your home with the people that you love around you, you can't put a value on that. You can't put a value on what that brings to your ability to have a good quality life, being in your own home, Mr. Speaker. So what they do in terms of supporting really good care, the best kind of care, supporting our families to be around their loved one, supporting people to be in homes and communities of their choice is completely invaluable. And to acknowledge that we are going some way to recompensing them fairly is encouraging. Unfortunately, we are going nowhere far enough, because the value that they bring to the lives of the people that they support is without measure. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk a little bit about the types of work that these home care workers do, and it's not just about keeping someone's home clean, making sure that there's meals prepared. It's not just about home help or personal care. It is often very, very intimate care. It's often very high level, highly trained care. I know that when I was working in the sector myself, we had people who were able to support medically fragile children to be at home. We had people who were able to support a family, care for their loved one at the end of their life. There's nothing more personal than that. We had people who were able to support people with serious skin conditions, be able to dress and bathe and then be in a position to get on with their day. They actually provide and facilitate people to live a life like you and I. They're able to provide support for people to dress and then to get on with their day, whether that be in education, whether that be work, whether that be study. Without our home care support workers, Mr. Speaker, our ability to do what we want to do, to have the choice to live the lives that we want to live, would be greatly diminished. And I can't speak more highly of that. Mr. Speaker, the previous speakers have talked about the agreement that had been negotiated and mediated and settled between the unions who represented the workers, between the home care providers and between the Crown agencies who fund the work. And that is encouraging that what we are doing is really giving effect to what is already an agreement that's in place. But there is another part of the agreement that I hope someday we will be able to effect, and that is two things. Firstly, it's about regularising the work and ensuring that these workers actually have the ability to have security in their work and security of payments, which currently, because they are client-based work, they do not have that security. It would be great to have that ability to provide that. The other aspect of the agreement that I would really hope we would be in a position to support is the review of the sector as a whole. I have in previous speeches talked about why we are at this place now putting into effect the travel time provisions. And what has happened over time, and it's been several years since I've actually been in the sector myself, but what has happened over time is that through different forms of assessment for the needs of our clients, which is a process that started, I believe, with Auckland District Health Board a few years ago when they were looking at the way we assess care for our older recipients of care at home. They were looking at who was in the best position to assess the needs of clients and then deliver that care. And what came out of that process was the fact that we could assess someone's care where in the past we may have been delivering, say, 2 or 3 hours worth of care into that home. We could assess that care and reduce it or change the way we delivered that care to a shorter period of time, which meant in a normal work day of a home care worker, where previously they may have had 2 or 3 clients, now they might have 5 or 6 clients. The distances they were travelling and the times they were travelling have therefore increased. And I think that this is a point to make for what may happen in the future as well, that increasingly our home care workers will be required to become more mobile, not less. So that is, I think this is a good thing that we've identified that this, the travel is actually work. It's an essential part of what they do. And increasingly it will become more and more part of home care workers' life to actually be engaged in travelling as they service more clients. Mr. Speaker, there is not much more to say on this bill. I really am encouraged that we have traversed this with some speed through the House, that we actually gave it due consideration, and that the Select Committee were able to ensure that work through ACC was also included in the bill, which is very important because our home care workers are also often working with ACC clients, and it would be unfair and unbalanced if they weren't included in this. Mr. Speaker, I just on the final note want to say again, I really acknowledge the work that support workers do. I would hope that one day we value their work in the same way that we value the work of other people who provide the types of support into our community, such as our first responders, for example. The work that first responders do has a value in our community, and I would like to see that we as a parliament, as parliamentarians, really try and set the bar higher for our home support workers, that we raise the status of their work in our community and we have some equity with the work that other professionals do. Mr. Speaker, it's a great pleasure to support this bill, and I commend it to the House.